Okay, well, here we are again this afternoon. I can't thank the 1911 group enough for asking us all to join for another exciting conversation. We're really honored to discuss what I think is one of the more dynamic platforms that has been developed by SMU alumni in regards to its support for our ever-expanding football program. I'd like to welcome Matt Ayres and Steve Benotti to this discussion. As we relatively refer to them, the godfathers of what is the Sack Club. And, guys, obviously we go back a long way. There's a lot of politically incorrect things that we could share, but we won't. Maybe each of you could just introduce yourselves a bit and tell your SMU ties to this illustrious group.
So, thanks, Bill. I'm a third generation Mustang, bleed red and blue. My granddad played in the 30s. My uncle played in the 50s. My cousin played in the 70s. Growing up on going to SMU football my whole life, was kind of getting recruited a little bit before the death penalty, and then things kind of went south. And anyway, took a little time off from that, and then went across town, and then transferred into SMU after freshman year, and potluck roommate was Mr. Stephen Benotti.
Yeah.
I call him the Sack Club godfather. I just carried the bags. But anyway, we were roommates playing football, both walk-ons. He was at one point my center when I was, holding the clipboard, being backup QB number 4. And we just developed a friendship and have been best friends ever since. And Benotti he can talk about it in a sec, but he had a great idea and I just kind of ran with it. So he's really the godfather. Like I said, I just kind of helped facilitate some of the swag and membership. So with that, Steve, I'll let you kind of give him your 411 of everything.
Yeah. So Steve Benotti, I played for 4th grade. We were the first team back, and played for him. And then defense coordinator was Dale Lindsay and John Tenuta. So fortunately, I started on offense, had a very lucky hit at Rice University, and then next Monday I got moved to defense. I was a terrible center. You can ask Mike Romo that. I think his fingers still may be recovering from me jamming them and breaking them, but it's always every time I see him, I want to make sure his fingers are working. So yeah, I was not a very good center. I'd forget to snap the ball. So defense was fitting me a lot better. Had a blast playing football at SMU. Was fortunate to play in the Southwest Conference, fortunate to play with a lot of great players, and had a lot of fun. And which playing football, obviously, next step is coaching football, and that's really where the Sack Club came from. I had an opportunity to coach down south in Texas A&M Kingsville, and that year we were ranked 1 in the nation. We had a lot of great players. I remember walking out of the tunnel one day, and I saw before the game, I saw one of the alumni with the Sack Club shirt on. And I kind of thought about that and came back and saw him a couple of weeks later and asked him what that was. And he told me, "Oh, we're raising money for Sack Club." I thought, man, what a great idea. And so we kind of carried it down there a little bit. Scott Dodge still runs it to this day down in Kingsville. And that's why we brought it up here when we were trying to raise some money for some other things. I just assumed everybody had the Sack Club. And that's really my introduction to it was, hey, why don't we just form the Sack Club to get some people interested in donating money to SMU football?
Yeah. And guys, I think it's a great story about how, just getting alumni together, always trying to support our school. The 3 of us have been out there all these years, even since we were students, and supporting the team, obviously, seeing the evolution of where football has gone since those dark days, the death penalty, and where we are today is so exciting. But, this really was kind of a unique moment. We were second year of our latest coach when this idea came up. We were having a dinner in the backyard of another mutual friends. John and Tracy Martin were happy to host us. We're trying to raise some money for the football program. And as we were talking about things that evening, how we could do more, Steve definitely threw out, that experience from his time coaching down in Kingsville. And it was just like a light bulb went off, like, wow, this is really simple. Why don't we have something like this? And post that evening, you guys really ran with it. But it started with, a dinner with a coach, this was still in the dark days of where are we going to end up? Can we get back to a major conference? And every little group we could get together to raise some money for the program was important. And you guys took this experience of Steve's from his coaching days and turned it into something real. And today we have Sack Club. It's been around since 2019. We've raised real dollars. It's specific for football operations, and it's had a dynamic impact in several ways. But maybe what would be really compelling for our members and the greater world to know is, how has this grown? Where is it today? And give us some of the insights of what it's done for the program, because everybody hears about, oh, you raise money, and especially now we have the NIL, everybody thinks everybody's just getting paid. There's real needs at every program. Like whether you're Alabama or SMU, there's always something that you didn't plan for. And having alumni support to get real dollars to an emergency moment is important. So either one of you can comment on some of the things you've seen since 2019 where Sack Club has enabled the program and how it's grown.
Yeah, to echo on what you said, Bill, I'll never forget we were at John Martin's house, and it was kind of a bet, like within our Phi Delta SA good buddies that were all hanging out at this deal, and Sonny was there, and we just kind of said, hey man, like how cool it would be to start this. And the Mustang Club really didn't embrace it, to be honest with you. Their people that were running at the time are no longer there, but they just kind of laughed at us and said, there's no way this is going to work. And they just couldn't get their arms around the whole understanding. So we just kind of took the ball and ran with it, so to speak. And part of my deal was I just as alums and as, fans, it's really hard to find really good merchandise for SMU, in my opinion. And so I was like, we're going to make the most kick-ass merch that we could have, and you can't buy it, but you have to become a member. And when you tell an SMU person they can't buy something, that's like they just lose their mind. They just can't even process that. So my whole goal was to establish the most cool merch that they're like, wow, I really wanted to wear that. And the coaches wanted to wear that, and the players wanted to wear that. So that was something that I thought was needed to be giving back to the community. If you were going to help be involved, I wanted you to get a lot of swag of stuff that was unique, that you were proud of, that you would wear to have the Mustang brand on it and be excited about. And so anyway, I'll let Steve kind of talk about where the dollars have gone, but like since 2019, every year it's just keeps growing and growing and growing. And to like what you said, giving something back to alum to participate as a member, like they love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that was always kind of the start of it was, hey, let's do something that everyone gets, give more. The more we give, the more we get back. And it was really the only club that handed out stuff. We have all kinds of events throughout the year, and it's been a lot of fun. My understanding, and I'm getting the information from the Mustang Club, I mean, we help pay for golf carts, we help pay for uniforms, we help pay for dummies and stuff they need. It strictly goes to football, and whatever the head coach needs, he does. And that was a great, by design. In addition, it's also tax deductible. So I will say this, the Mustang Club has definitely helped. Jake at the Mustang Club has definitely been very helpful these last few years since he really got involved to help get us the membership. Matt and I will get together sometime in the spring. Matt will come up with his ideas, and Matt's done an amazing job with different ideas. I mean, it's more than just T-shirts and hats. I mean, we've had coolers, or we've had really nice shirts. We've had deck of cards, koozies, fans. I mean, we've had tons of stuff. So he always comes up with some amazing ideas, and it's been a lot of fun. And then him and I
unique
will
events,
get together,
right?
and
We have unique access.
yeah, I mean, it's all been. It'll be interesting what this year gets, but it's always a fun time. And like I said, I can't thank Jake enough that the Mustang Club's been very helpful on connecting with people to really help drive this thing up. Now, since we started in 2019, every year we've done over $100,000. And the first year was really interesting because we started at John Martin's house, and we had 30 people. Everyone there said, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in. And I know Matt Peters, who was at the Mustang Club at the time, said, you know what? I can help you with this. So he was really helped us get this thing going and connecting us with the Mustang Club. So I really appreciate Matt's help on that. But it was definitely grassroots. This whole thing's been grassroots. And when Jake has questions or we ask Jake, hey, how many members we have? Who do we need to call? Matt does a really good job on bird dogging and getting people to join. But over $700,000 have been raised and 100% going to football. And like I said, there's been a lot of good stuff that's been purchased and definitely utilized, especially, 2019. Remember COVID, there was no fans there. We still raised over 100,000 in COVID. So that's a testament to everybody that's a member and really sees the vision on this thing, the value. And I really appreciate all their ability, their help to help get this vision off the ground.
Well, and I think one of the things that's pretty unique about this is, the people that may deserve the most credit are the players and the coaches, because we raise the money depending on every sack we get, right? If we have a year that got no sacks, there is no money. And the way this coaching group has evolved and now under Rhett and what our defense has turned into, the number of sacks we're putting up, Matt, you could probably clarify this for me. I think if I remember from our last gathering in the spring, we had kind of a spring Sack Club gathering at the Weber, which was really fun to be part of. We've been top 5 in the nation in total sacks as a football program. That's compared to everybody, folks. That's Alabama, that's Ohio State. SMU's defensive sack count has been top 5 in the nation for the last 4 years running.
Yeah, well, first year was hilarious. So we're all sitting at the Barley House. We don't know how this thing is going to go. Kevin Kane's the defensive coordinator, and I don't know if you remember that University of South Florida game, but he blitzed freaking every down. So everybody's looking at me at the bar, going, "Okay, now my credit card is going to be rung on Monday. It's up to $550. We had 11 sacks." So needless to say, I had to pick up the bar tab that day for everybody. But it is what's also cool too, Bill, is like we have a lot of female members, like people that I never would have known as Mustang fans, that we've all come together united because of the Sack Club. So seeing like Karen Gray and Dawn, like they're fans, they help solicit other female members, like getting to hang out with them all year long. They'll send you a text that, they'll wear the little Sack Club chain at the boulevard, handing out stickers, fans, stuff like that. It's just a grassroots fun way to watch a football game. Totally different now. You watch defensive sacks. Sometimes you want to get a sack. Sometimes you just want to throw it out of bounds because you don't want your credit card over $250 the next day because you got to explain that to the wife. So anyway, it's just a different way to watch football, and stuff like that is what makes the Mustang Nation so unique, and nobody else has this deal out there. So when I talk to people about Sack Club, like TCU friends or UT friends, they just can't even process it.
Well, and I think the other thing that makes it really valuable is, as we're always trying to engage with our younger generations, and as the three of us can definitely relate. Look, whether it's $50 or $1,500, when you're 28 years old and just a few years out of college, you want to have some participation. You want to feel like you're part of something, but you're not necessarily making the biggest dollars, right? And so, what was great about the formation of this is it's capped. You can choose to uncap it, or you can choose to not be told that you can cap it.
Let it
And
run.
and so it's, as you sign up, it's automatically capped for not more than $1,500 a year. Now, that sounds scary if you're 25, but $1,500 a year that's fully tax deductible is a pretty easy give for a major program, right? And it also just comes down to, again, how many sacks we get. So we hope we're over maximizing those sacks and get more than actually 1,500 counts for. But that's one of the other great elements of this is it's how do we engage our upcoming emerging alumni base to be able to give, to have a real impact. And if you think about this, if we should have thousands of Sack Club members. Hopefully everybody who gets to see this discussion feels as everybody on this discussion does. I mean, last year was a magical year. We've been waiting for that year for over 40 years. But that's what's going to be repeated every year. We've got a full stadium, we've got a real program, we've got a crowded campus, and this is a program that's on the rise, and this is something that brings great momentum, creates another reason to pay more attention to defense. You know, everybody talks about, man, did you see that pass? And that guy ran for 40 yards. But being a sack club member, like, oh my God, we got 5 sacks that game. And so I think that's one of the greater elements you guys developed about this, and I think it was really smart. Um, you know, Steve, with even those were tough years when we had just finished playing soccer for homecoming and we came back to football, and you guys played real big teams, and you had some pretty momentous moments in those years, even though the scoreboard might have been lopsided. Your
Yeah.
defense was substantial, and we loved watching that and being part of that. And now we're a true national contender,
Yeah, it's
and
been fun.
and,
Um,
and it, it's changing the way everybody's looking at our team.
well, I think going back to the sacks, I mean, from a defensive, having played defense, the thing about a sack is that's a full side of the ball effort. It's to get coaches make the right call. The defensive line are in the right spots they need to be in. You got great coverage at the back half. And I mean, and you got about 4.5 seconds to make that. I mean, it's not like you have an hour back there. So, I mean, to see a sack to me, I mean, that's the best part of the game. I mean, obviously touchdowns win it, but I mean, how many times have you had to have a sack to stop a drive, to change momentum? I mean, that's what's exciting about the sack. And last time I looked, there's only on average like 3.8 per game. So there's not many sacks that you get during a game. And $50 cap, $50 sack is all it takes. And as much as Matt and I really try to give back, we think that not only getting a charitable donation, but you get a lot back. You're not just writing checks. You're also getting access. You're also getting swag that no one else gets, and high quality swag. I mean, it's not like it's junk. So, and not to mention, you get to meet a whole bunch of people along the way. And to your point, Bill, for the younger group, it's really a good way to start donating to the program, right? You can start small. You don't have to write a $100,000 check to get anything, right? I mean, $50 a game, $50, and there's times that there's 0 sacks, but there's also times when there's 10 or 11. And I promise you, the defense coordinators know when it's 10 or 11 because they keep dialing up blitzes. But the good news is, no matter how it slices, it's capped. So if they get all 30 sacks in one game, it's still capped. So, no art. But it's been a lot of fun seeing a lot of new people, a lot of new faces, and especially seeing people wearing the Sack Club swag that Matt puts together that I've never known. And so getting to meet them has been fun.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard you comment to me before as well, Steve. Because you're in Houston, right? That's your home
Yeah.
base. That's where you're from. And Matt and I are in Dallas. Vince is in Dallas. This is around us all the time, right? But being in Houston, this other big major city that we have a major alumni presence. I know a couple different times I got text, man, I was so-and-so in Houston. I saw a Sack Club hat, or I saw a Sack
Right.
Club sticker. I mean, it's really cool, to make sure that the Mustang brand is spreading across the country. I think, just last week, 4th of July, I think I sent you guys a text. A friend of mine from growing up sent me a picture of a house up in Montauk with a giant Mustang flag on it, up in the Northeast. And you're like, yeah, the comment my buddy sent me is, you guys are invading everywhere. And that's the other element of the swag and everything that comes with this is we're letting everybody know that the Mustangs are here, and we're continuing to grow, and everybody can feel that from these major programs, right? They put out 20,000 students a year. We're still this small school, but we're playing with the biggest guys out there, and we're having real success. So I think that's one of the elements of being part of this that makes it fun is you start noting that, and as you travel around the country and see everybody participating and joking about, man, did you see that game last week? God, we got 5 sacks. God, that hit the wallet, I mean, but we've also heard from the coaches, and you guys have had a lot of exposure to the coaching group throughout your lives, especially the last few years. they've made great specific comments about the appreciation that these dollars have made. Matt, you probably spend more time with the coaches than any of us here. I mean, a couple comments that you may want to share that you've heard from some of these guys that these dollars have really helped when things were needed.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, like the software package that we were needing for scout deal that they needed for defensive guys was like a $50,000 request the first year. We were able to fund that immediately. I think Steve mentioned on the golf carts that first year, Megan came to us and said they needed more golf carts for all the recruiting visits. We were able to buy those. One of my favorites is the black uniforms that you see us wear with the blue. The kids love. That's probably the biggest one that we helped with. But and then as well as like funding these little things you may not even hear about that may be a GA assistant here or this guy there. I mean, just to give you kind of like an understanding too, Kevin Kane, our previous defensive coordinators, tried to take this and run with this at Purdue, Illinois, and now he's at Minnesota. I've told him he's got to send us a license agreement to pay us an override, make sure we get our 10% or whatever. And then as well as, other coaches out there, when they hear this whole concept, I know Vanderbilt's been trying to kick the tires and put something together like that this year. Ole Miss has talked to me about it with Randall Joyner and some of that. And Rambo was here before. He was awesome during COVID. During COVID, we had basically a Zoom call like this, but we had all the people call in and coaches were able to show us tape on how they actually game plan for a specific opponent and show some of the different sacks that they had run the week before. So things like that, you really get a behind the scenes experience with the coaches to really hear about what they're doing. And the coaches love doing that. So like when we had the happy hour earlier this year at the Weber, they love being able to talk about the roster, who's looking good for spring, give you more of an inside perspective of stuff that you may not even hear about on some of the Pony fan sites and stuff like that. Really get to understand the kids. And probably my favorite part of the whole thing that Steve and you have gotten to do too as well, Bill, is taking these guys to dinner like at Prego or Campese's or Dunstan Steakhouse, where they've gone and had 4 sacks that week before, and then we get to give back and hang out with Tank Bookers and Jared Harrison Hunt and Elijah Roberts, and they just love and embrace the whole idea behind the Sack Club. So that's the part that giving back to me is like the most awesome part about doing this year round.
No, that's absolutely a great point, Matt, and probably never more highlighted in specific than our current spring and summer, and hopefully our alums and supporters who will see this have gotten the emails from SMU. But this method and this program type is now being duplicated by our basketball program, and
Yep.
we now have a 3-point club and things like that, and so that little creative thought in somebody's backyard with a beer in our hand has really taken on its life of its own. Now it's expanding to other sports. And you guys were the thought, mission, and action behind all this. And I hope everybody gets involved in all these clubs. Not that I want everybody to just feel like there's an endless check writing game, but it does
Exactly.
make you follow something more on these games, gets you more involved, makes you feel that you can track all elements of the action, and it does make you feel good that you're having an impact. And we are a tremendous community. I think that's one of the reasons we're having such success. It's these days all everybody talks about is the money and the NIL and everything. You could do a lot with that, but you got to have culture and community and brotherhood to make this all work, to come together, to fight for one another. And obviously Rhett is excelling at that. That's why we're
For sure.
getting players, keeping players. And you guys had that even back in the 80s when we were here. It's always been, ride or die for the SMU Mustangs. And it's in all facets of life, not just on the athletic field, but in business and family. There's never been a better community feel than what I've found since I got here in 87. And so I think that's a true testimony to what you guys have built, seeing this now evolve and grow to the basketball program.
Right. No, I agree with that 100%. And what's nice is that Matt's up there and able to stay connected and do a lot of the groundwork that I'm not able to. But we've been able to get a lot of people in Houston excited about the Sack Club and being able to do some stuff down here. I mean, just the backyard that y'all started with John Martin. I mean, that's what look what that's grown into today. I think the alumni have done a really good job at SMU to really start it, and then SMU can take it off, take it at a little bigger angle. I think that's, the Mustang Club has been helpful with the Sack Club, being able to send emails out and say, hey, join the Sack Club, join the Sack Club. And like I said, I can't thank Jake enough for all his help. And it's been a good ride. We're closing in on $1 million on $50
Crazy.
sacks. And to me, that just blows me away. I just kind of laugh every time I hear that. $50 sacks, $1 million. So we still got maybe a couple of years to go, unless we have a massive group of people that decide to join, which we're definitely welcoming. But
we're close. We'd love to get over the 100-member deal too. That's kind of always been another big threshold that we've kind of gotten close to. We kind of peter out at 82, 85 members. But hoping the 1911 guys can get us some of these young studs that we've gotten to meet. Steve and I have, and Bill too. We all have seats there in the Weber down there, and we're just recruiting guys all the time down there. But if you're ever down there, us in the Weber, and see us, we'll buy you a beer if you'll join the Sack Club. Come on, we need you. So we need the young guys. We're the old dudes now. So
you guys,
we'll get you We'll get you a couple.
I'm still like 25 in my head, so I don't know what you're talking about. No, yeah, and look, out there on the boulevard, we've been there since it started, and it's a labor of love. But yeah, come find us, come ask us about it. I think anybody who is hopefully already renewed their tickets and everything. To your comment, Steve, Jake's been great. When you renew your tickets now, Sack Club's a button right there, so it's pretty easy to join. We'll make sure there's a link on this when it's posted, but it's a ton of fun. And I think another really important element you brought up, Matt, is we've met people that we never knew were such Mustang fans, right? And, as you said, we've got a lot of great women involved, and it's been such a broadening opportunity to grow the SMU community that wants to support and see the fun of football. Everybody's welcome. I think we've all heard from mutual of our friends, the biggest winner in our evolution of success at SMU in Dallas is the Dallas sports fan.
Yeah,
we are the only major football program in Dallas County, pro or college. We're it, right? And we're now nationally competitive, and we're playing major teams from around the country. And so if you're a Dallas sports fan, you want to be at SMU on the weekend. You want to see what's going on. And so you may be a graduate from somewhere else. We just want you to have a second team, and that's your hometown SMU Mustangs. And the Sack Club even adds another element of that of, hey, look, I graduated from, University of Chicago, right? But I live in Dallas, and I'm working at Goldman, and the fun thing to do on the weekend is go to SMU, and we welcome those members to be Sack Club members. Hey, come get involved. Come support our hometown team that's making a part of the continued Dallas expansion and growth exciting.
Love it.
Well,
absolutely.
I can't have you guys together and not have at least one good, story from the 80s. And I'm going to call on Steve to, round this out for our members that will listen to this. But I don't want to spend too much of our time highlighting the greatness of Matt Ayres and Steve Benotti on the football field. But Steve, I think more than anything, as you highlighted who our coach was back in those days, you were really blessed to play for a great man. He was a great football player. He was a great man, great human, and that's Forrest Gregg. And for all of you who are so much younger than us that didn't know or feel what was going on at that time in this town as we were just trying to come back, it was a huge deal to have Forrest be our coach. And so I just thought it might be a good moment for you to maybe give one comment of what's maybe the most important thing or the most memorable thing that you learned from Forrest during those years, because he is Hall of Fame Forrest Gregg, and you got to be really close to him, not just as a player, but throughout your life. And so it'd be cool to hear a story from your experience with Forrest.
I'll tell you the one story that sticks out. I mean, to me, he was larger than life. I mean, we played with no fear. I mean, we were all freshmen. At Notre Dame, they ranked one in the nation, and we played with no fear. I mean, never afraid. Should have been, probably. but never afraid. But I can highlight that first year back, we didn't have games. And I was still on the offensive side of the ball, learning how to snap. And the offensive line coach was gone. He was out recruiting. And so Forrest Gregg was our offensive line coach for the day. And that was when you had the 7-man sled, and he was standing on top of the sled, which was like a little rectangle piece, but there was some grass behind it. And we're hitting the sled, 7 of us, and it really wasn't moving. I mean, he wasn't real impressed with the fire off capability. So he got down in a stance and fired off into it and moved the whole sled. And we're like, all right, now we see how to go. Now we know what we need to do. So we fire off, and he's standing on that sled, and we jar him to where he puts his foot back, and that metal plate kind of runs over his foot. And he blows his whistle, and he stops, hold on a second, gets regathered, and practice goes on. Well, practice went on for the next 5 days, and about day 6, day 7, he shows up in like a cast on his ankle. And everyone's like, Coach, what happened? He's like, well, you remember that sled? He goes, yeah, well, you rolled over my ankle. You fractured my ankle. And at that point, we all looked at him like, he didn't whimper. He didn't say anything. And he coached on that thing for a whole week before he ever had the cast on. So we knew right away that back then, you weren't going to get out of anything if you thought you were hurt. So you just played hurt. And the toughest man we knew, and he taught us to be tough as well. I mean, he had a pretty big task in front of him. And very, very thankful and blessed to have been able to say I played for Forrest Gregg, SMU, and the Southwest Conference for sure.
Yeah, I'll echo Steve's deal. We got to know Coach Gregg on a personal level. We got to take him duck hunting. We got to be in his house. We got to play cards with him. Like we had true relationships with him. And you look at that team, Bill, I know the record maybe only showed 2 wins first year, but every one of those players on that team are highly, highly successful in business still to this day.
Yep.
And I promise you, one thing you can't teach is heart. And everybody on that team had heart. And so like I see these players now that are bubble wrapped and all sorts of stuff and different things and don't hit and don't tackle. I can promise you, when we practiced, we tackled, we wrapped it. It didn't matter if you had a red jersey on. You still got the snot knocked out of you. But Coach was one of a kind. The fact that he came back to SMU to help us was amazing, just to be able to say we were coached by him. And he will go down as the Lombardi called him the greatest player he's ever coached. So I think SMU doesn't really realize how big a deal it was to have him there.
No, it was truly special.
He meant a lot to a lot of people, a lot of players, for sure.
No, and Matt, you make a great point. Those were anybody that doesn't respect what you guys and your fellow teammates went through, learned, experienced during those years as we were building something from scratch. And you said it the best, everyone on that team has ended up excelling in their life. That's because the principles they learned from those coaches, those experiences on the field, and fighting for one another. And, we've all lived that. We want more of this next generation to continue to embody that. But no, gentlemen, look, you guys are my lifelong friends. I really appreciate you making time today. I can't thank Mitch and the 1911 group for making time to give us this chance to talk about where Sack Club came from, where it's going. I hope everybody that gets a chance to hear and listen to this gets more excited, becomes a member, and comes and visit us at the stadium, come visit us on the boulevard. It's almost football season, boys. I think we're 50 days away from kickoff of 2025. The preeminence of SMU is going to continue to rise. And there's the Sack Club hat for this fall. Get ready, get fired up. Get your popcorn, get a hot dog. We're coming to town, baby. I can't thank you all enough, and look forward to seeing everybody in 51 days.
Go.
Thank you to our incredible sponsors, Security National Bank, Hilltop Property Tax, Mignon Steakhouse, Sound of a Rose Podcast, and the SMU Cox School of Business for making this all possible.